Have you ever got into a situation in which from the outside, everything looked fine, but inside, something was wrong with that? Imagine an environment filled with laughter, flashing lights, and the atmosphere of the party that is supposed to celebrate the union, joy, and hope. It's the end of the year. It's that time when everyone comes together to exchange gifts, share stories, and to strengthen that bond. However, behind this facade of happiness, in the collective, there is something that often goes unnoticed, a sense of silent exclusion from the empty areas. Have you ever gone through this? Maybe it was a family celebration, a celebration with friends, or even at her own house, where, as everyone having a good time, do you feel that something is missing? It's possible that your presence is not to be more than a shadow, a spectator who watches the laughter and the exchanges of gifts, but in some way, it didn't really at that stage. Stay with me until the very end, because that's all you're going to find out now. You will be surprised. Many times, the greatest pain, that is not what we get or don't get it, but in the sense of not being remembered. We do not have a space that's true at the moment of the celebration. And in this sense, it seems to be small. You can hide it in a much more complex and painful, especially when it is related to sensitive topics such as racism and exclusion in the world. Have you ever noticed how sometimes the small actions disguised as a quiet, heavy, as for the back of the jokes and comments on the innocent, they hide more subtle forms of rejection? The festival, which was supposed to unite many of the times, it ends up reinforcing our sense of isolation, that they are all there. There are people who are left out, invisible, forgotten, and it is precisely these people in the story that I want to share with you today, in a story that shows how many times the celebration more cheerful bear is also a layer of pain and silence. A story that makes you reflect on why, even in the moments of celebration, and some of us feel that we are not part of it, and what can we do to change this situation? Still with me, because the next thing that happens is going to open your eyes to experience that you may never have stopped to think about it carefully. If you identify with our story, you know that you're not alone. Many people go for a moment of the joy that they seem to mask it such a pain to be silent, and to it is more common than you think. To share these experiences with you, even in that quiet, it is a very important step in order to understand it all. We carry our own inner battles, even in the days of the show. So, if this issue has touched your heart, or did you bring something, please leave it here in the comments on what you played, your feedback, or experience you want to share. Your participation is essential for this space to become a true community where we can learn from each other and strengthening our bonds. Enjoy the video. If you feel that this message made sense to you, and if you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel to continue to receive content that is speaking to your heart. After all, what makes it so special? It's just a trade-off that happens. Your stories, your emotions, and your presence will make all the difference in the continuity of the project. Every comment, every like, and every subscription helps spread that message to bring hope, understanding, and empathy for the suffering of the people. Then, continue on to me, because there's still so much more for you to explore and reflect on it together. Right now, I want you to go deeper in the subject line, because that's the true transformation happens when we begin to understand that our everyday decisions, no matter how simple they may seem, have an impact as a silent but powerful, not only in our journey. Many of the times, we believe that the great changes that take place only in times of crisis, or after an event as dramatic, but it's the truth concealed is that she gets into a routine, in the small choices that we make without realizing it. Every step you take, every thought, every action, if it fits in the larger sprocket, which shapes who we are and who we can become. Such an understanding is the one that really breaks down the barriers of my comfort zone and reveal the importance of open-mindedness and a willingness to challenge the status quo. When you think about it, we realize that there is some sort of rack to recognize that too often remain hidden to our eyes. It is as if we are living in a theater and not even suspect that most of the actors who work behind the scenes, manipulating, influencing, and, too often, to direct our choices in a subtle way. This truth is hidden, manifesting itself in the way that we are conditioned by the social standards, by the opinions of others, or even by the fear of the unknown. And then when you realize that the dynamic, we started to wonder, to what extent is our choices actually reflect who we are or where we are influenced by outside forces? The impact of this discovery is a profound, because it leads to a kind of awakening, mental well-being. Suddenly, we realized that we could rewrite our story by using the script of your life. It is as if, in the unraveling of these signs, get a new liberty, the freedom to choose our paths in an authentic, without being mere extras in a story that are not belongs to us. This is a change of mentality, is not something that happens overnight, but it is a process of self-knowledge. It is about having the courage to face our own truths, and most importantly, to accept that sometimes we were the victims of a form of manipulation silent, that we walked away from what you really want, and turn that understanding into action. It's a real act of bravery. It requires us to become observers, are aware of what is happening around us, keeping the focus on our inner selves. It is at this point that we begin to identify with the small decisions that may seem insignificant, but together they have the power to change the whole way. This is a journey of self-discovery that is is full of revelations and challenges. To it, to open their eyes to the truths that are hidden from, we also provide a space for change, built in deep. And the more we go in the process, the more we realize how much we are able to influence our reality just to a change in our way of thinking and acting. At the same time, this shift in perspective has a direct impact on our relationship with the world around us. We understand that emotions are often a reflection of the limiting beliefs that we have without realizing it, and demystify them, we were able to make space for emotions, the more authentic, to connect more fully with the people, and above all, to make decisions more in line with who you really are. This is the power of transformation aware. It does not only change our past, but also resignifica all the things that seem to be fixed, immovable, or are out of our control. It's as if, when you find out the truth hidden behind the surface, get a new perspective on the impact we can make in our own lives, and in the lives of those around us. This is why this is a journey of self-discovery and transformation, requires an attitude of curiosity and constant, open to learning, and the courage to face the unknown. After all, the more you dive into the behind the scenes of our minds and our hearts, the more we realize just how deep the connection is between our internal decision-making and the impact of the outside world they do. It's a revelation that changes everything. To understand that we are the protagonists of our story, we can begin to construct a narrative, more fully, more in tune with our greatest dreams and desires. And when you do that, everything around you starts to change, reflecting this new way of understanding that comes from the inside out. With this new insight, it is clear that real change is not simply the acquisition of techniques and strategies that are external, but the internal transformation that enables us to act with more awareness and authenticity. It is at this point that we found out what the power is, in fact, the decision to look beyond the surface, to question the truths that we have been imposed upon, and to build a new life based on the truth goes deeper. And this is a journey of discovery, revelation, and growth, is what makes all of this even more special, because it leads us to a state of constant evolution, where each step reveals a new layer of potential for what seemed to be an invisible, but now it shines with a force all its own. So if you think about all of this, it is clear that this process requires dedication, patience, and a dose of courage to look into the case. Because after all, the greatest change happens when we allow ourselves to uncover the hidden truths that have shaped our history. And the idea was to create a new narrative, one that is more in tune with who we really are and the impact you want to leave out in the world. And in doing so, we realize that every decision, every thought, and every emotion, you have the power to build up to a reality that is more authentic and full of purpose. It's as if, when you understand the game unseen, finally, we can take control of our history and transforming into what appeared to be a routine. The result is a journey of growth and hope and the true freedom of mind. Now, thinking about all of this, I want to know your opinion about one word that encapsulates this process of self-discovery and transformation. He writes that the revelation. Right now, I want you to go deeper in the subject line because that is the truth hidden behind all of this. Too many times, it is in our own mindset. When you start to see in the game are invisible, it would seem that a light goes on in your head, as if to finally be able to see beyond the mask and the distractions of daily life. But does it really change that perception of something that you can use to transform our lives? Is our ability to choose to act and to question everything that has been imposed on, and to open the way for a new understanding of who we are, in fact. It is as if, to unravel those behind the scenes, see where the greatest strength is in our sole discretion to change, to rewrite our story, and take control of the impact that our thoughts and emotions are in the way. This is a change of mindset, is in fact an inner transformation that takes us on a journey of self-discovery. And to this day, for his part, says something that is hidden under the layers of conditioning, limiting beliefs, and even the fears that we don't even know what carregamos. When we look at these elements from the inside to the outside, we see that freedom don't come from external factors, but in our ability to deal with them in a conscious way. It's as if, as soon as the truth is hidden, for us to understand that we are the authors of our own, a roadmap, and that we can rewrite each chapter with a view to a stronger, clearer, and more closely aligned with our deepest values. As we reflect on this journey of transformation, it is clear that it is not a one-off event, but an ongoing process. Every decision we make, every thought that we have cultivated, it has the power to influence and the impact we have on the world around us. And it is precisely for this reason that an understanding of the game, the unseen, is so powerful. It gives us a new lens through which to see our actions, our emotions, and our own choices to make. Thus, from the point at which we begin to realize what happens behind the scenes of our minds shapes our reality, and it all gets a whole new dimension to the sector and the potential for change. And here it comes a point that you just perceive. For the true transformation doesn't just happen with the big events or to changes in the external, but also in the way we interpret those experiences. To understand the dynamics of the hidden, we'll see which one of our daily decisions, the ones that look like small, almost imperceptible, it is the foundation of the impact that we want to make it in the world. And at the same time, we realize that it all starts in our minds and in our willingness to accept the truth, the more uncomfortable it is at the beginning. It is at this point that we understand that the emotional release comes from a conscious choice to face up to the truth, to challenge, and to continually strive for the evolution of the interior. And this, which is often a silent and nearly invisible to the outside world, this is where you'll find the largest power of our true transformation. It is in this space of self-awareness that we have found in the behind the scenes of one's own emotions and to understand the mechanisms by which we hold or releases, and especially, we've learned to build a new narrative, one that is more closely aligned with what really matters to us. Nothing like that happens at one time or another, of course, but each step is taken in this sense. It's a win silent, which strengthens our resolve to move forward, to learn from their mistakes, and understand that change happens from the inside to the outside. Now, when I think about all of this, it is evident that this is a journey of discovery that is a real eye-opener. In it, she reveals not only the secrets that were hidden in between the lines of the mind, but also the power we have to transform our experience into something more meaningful. Each and every insight, each of awareness, it works like a piece of a puzzle that, when attached, it reveals the full picture of our potential. And in doing so, we realize that the impact of this change is much more than ourselves, reaching out to all that is going on around us that positively influence our relationships, our goals, and our own history. For this reason, it is important to recognize that this is a journey of awakening, and change is a constant revelation, and the opportunity to reconnect with what you really are, and we want it to. Every step in the direction of that truth is hidden. He invites us to look deeper within, to challenge our own limits, and to celebrate the courage to move forward even when the path to look up in the air. It is in this movement of self-discovery that we find true freedom, one that is born of a deep understanding of who we are in the main, responsible for creating the reality we want to live in. And if you think about all of this, I can only invite you to think of the word which best represents your own journey of transformation and self-discovery. He writes that the revelation. Right now, I want you to go deeper in the subject line, because that is the journey of self-discovery that is never linear, and oftentimes, it leads us to the uncharted territories, where our deeply held beliefs are put to the ultimate test. It is at this point that we realize that it's the true transformation is about having the courage to confront our own shadow, to those parts of ourselves that we would prefer to conceal or deny it. And here comes one point that is often little discussed, but it makes a world of difference: the capability and question into our own truths. When you begin to look at the inside with a look of honest, we realize that many of our limitations are mental constructs, the filters that you have created in the course of time, and keep our emotions locked into vicious cycles. It is great because it gives us the power to rewrite our story. You change the script, which seemed to be set by the external factors, or with the past. And in the process of this change, we end up being faced with this feeling of vulnerability that is often mistaken for weakness. But in fact, it is precisely in this situation that it is the best. Because you accept our imperfections, we are the single most important step toward true freedom of mind. Freedom comes when we understand that we are not our mistakes, our doubts, but the sum total of all the experiences that have shaped you, and that can be changed at any time. On the basis of this understanding, we can begin to understand how our daily decisions have a direct impact on our journey of growth. For each choice, as small as it may seem, it is a very important part in the construction of our own destiny. And this awareness leads us to think about what really matters to you, deconstruction of what we've been taught as absolute truth, to make way for a new vision, one more in tune with who we are of the truth, more authentic, more aware, more present. It's as if, rather than automatically react to the circumstances, have to act with intention, with purpose, take control of your own small boat in the midst of the waves or turbulence. And here comes the revelation that a lot of people only discover in the skin after years of searching, the ability to transform the impact of our emotions in order to fuel the trend. When we fail to understand that our emotions are not the enemy, but the tools of self-awareness, everything changes. The anger, the sadness, the anxiety disorders are no longer barriers and are now signs that something needs to be looked at more closely. This change of perspective requires an open-mindedness and a willingness to learn from the things that once made you suffer. This is a movement of acceptance and learning to find the real potential for change, an inner strength that is so often hidden under layers of fear and insecurity. And it is precisely at this point that the majority of the people are facing the biggest revelation of all. The real power lies inside you. And it all starts with a decision, a simple yet powerful, to take responsibility for their own lives. This is a responsibility that is not very heavy, but it's liberating. This means that instead of waiting for the world around you will change for her condition to improve, you may decide to make your own behavior. Your mindset, your way of looking at it, is possible. When you have this inner change occurs, it echoes on the outside, creating an impact that goes far beyond their own limits. The journey is continuing, and at each time step, the new revelations come to you, with new layers of yourself that are discovered. The authenticity is, for example, is no longer an abstract concept, and it is a daily practice. You will begin to realize that, in keeping with your deepest values, everything around you starts start to make more sense and looks lighter in weight, more real. Every decision is a chance to reinforce that connection to who you truly are, without masks or expectations of others. And in the process, and the impact of the change is startling because it promotes the transformation of the interior, which, in turn, will influence the situation. At that moment, you realize that a journey of self-discovery is a kind of way of the revelations contained, each discovery inviting us to go deeper, to explore the aspects that is often not thought to exist in all of us. And this exploration is what leads us to understand that true freedom is something that can be earned each day with courage, honesty, and a willingness to reinvent himself. It is a journey of impact that makes it not only who we are, but also what we believe to be able to take over. And if you think about all of this, it is clear that this will never end, because life is a constant opportunities for development, learning, reinventing itself. This is the essence of the transformation, so genuine that it is born out of an in-depth understanding of the power of change, is always within our own selves. He comments that, "It makes no sense to me. Right now, I want you to go deeper in the subject line, because that's the true transformation doesn't just happen in theory or on the surface of our own stock, but also in the deeper roots of our being, the very essence of what we believe about ourselves." It is at this point that a lot of people end up losing the game, even when they appear to be moving in the right direction. They forget that real change requires a reconstruction of an internal review of the stories we tell about who we are and what we can do. And this, in turn, requires the courage to face up to the truths that are hidden from those who often prefer to avoid it, because it challenges our comfort zone and makes us question everything we thought was right. The day of the transformation, so it's a sort of a quest for authenticity and that fact that it touches the bottom of my heart, but a lot of times it is hidden beneath layers of fear, self-doubt, and the expectations of the outside. That's what's important to understand, that our choices shape our reality, and in a way more profound than you think. For each choice, as small as it may seem to you, it's like a seed planted in the fertile ground of our subconscious, that it may bloom into something brand new, or, if neglected, become the roots of the strength that we hold on to the past. As I reflect on this, I have found that the impact of this change is not confined to the US, but the echo of those around us. When we started to transform from the inside out, we've created a sort of domino effect, the energy that moves and inspires those who are next to us and also seek out their own journey of evolution. It's like, to be free from the bonds of your long-held beliefs, we're opening up space for new possibilities and new ways of thinking, acting, and living. And in the process, we have discovered that the limitations of which before seemed to be insurmountable were, in fact, the buildings were able to be removed with a conscious decision to make a change. This finding leads us to understand that true transformation is not a one-off event, but a daily practice, a series of small decisions that add up to create a narrative of growth and self-awareness. And, at the same time, it is revealed that the major stumbling block to many times as we are to ourselves, our own doubts, our own reasons, and afraid to step out of the screenplay, is known. So, what makes the difference is the willingness to face these challenges with honesty, and to question what we believe to be the truth, and to open ourselves up to the possibility of a new version of us, is aligned with our dreams and values. When you dive deeper into it, we realize that this journey of transformation will also involve a connection with the world around us, with nature, and with all the energy that is all around us. And it's this connection that helps us to understand that we are part of a larger whole, and that our actions have an impact, and that, as we change internally, we are going to contribute to a reality that is more balanced, more harmonious. It's a cycle, and the impact that it starts, but extends to the outside, to influence the rest of our lives, in our relationships, in our projects, and our purpose in life. And, in this way, it is a revelation of what many still do not do. Freedom is the ability to choose who we want to be, regardless of what the world is waiting for us. It, in turn, is about having the courage to break down the ancient mask, for letting go of the stories that we have been limited over the years, and above all, to trust in the power that exists in each and every one of us. It is a journey of self-discovery, which is a challenge that requires patience and, above all, a provision of the learned to reinvent themselves and to move forward even in the face of doubts and obstacles that will arise along the way. And it is precisely at this point that the impact becomes more and more profound, because in ourselves we can begin to understand that genuine change is a reflection of our progress in the spiritual, emotional, and mental well-being. This is a wake-up call that connects us with our essence, closer to the truth, bringing to light the strengths and opportunities than before seemed to be unattainable. And in doing so, we note that the biggest secret of transformation is in the persistence, the faith of each and every step, no matter how small, brings us closer to a life more fully, more in tune with who you really are. He comments that, "It makes no sense to me. I now want to go more in depth on this topic, because they understand that in connection with our lives is just the first step in a journey that requires courage, self-discipline, and a growth mindset. Many of the times we come across with the internal obstacles that seem to be the biggest of the which we possess, as if they were the walls of the insurmountable, created by the limiting beliefs and fears that are rooted in the long term. That's when the real transformation begins to unfold. It is not the absence of trouble, but in our ability to deal with them in a new light. For each challenge, no matter how hard it may seem, it is an opportunity in disguise, a chance to show ourselves that we are able to go above and beyond what we imagined. The key lies in the way that we think of these moments of crisis. If we take as a sign that we are on the wrong path, or as a sign that we are growing and evolving, and the difference is brutal. When you adopt this mindset that it's all part of the process, we began to see the impact of our decision-making with a new clarity. There is no room for the auto-sabotagism or the fear of making a mistake, because we think that step by step, albeit a small one, it leads us to a stronger, more aware of who we are. The truth is hidden behind a lot of the success stories is that no one gets there by accident or luck. The journey is built on small daily actions, with meaningful choices, and above all, an abiding faith in the ability of transformation, which is within each and every one of us. And when you think about those scenes, not seen, we have found that the greatest impact comes from changes in the external, but from internal transformation. It is a movement that starts in your mind, in your heart, and in your soul, and it manifests itself in the way we act, communicate, and perceive the world around us. When we align with these elements in place, we have created a close, powerful, and able to open the doors before it seemed to be locked. This tune is the one that propels you from the inside out, creating a force that is able to break through the limits and reveal possibilities for previously thought to be unattainable. From then on, everything is a matter of persistence and to keep the flame burning, even when the external environment does seem to indicate that the path is too difficult for you. It is at this point that the power of a growth mindset is fundamental, because it reminds us that the struggles are just a rung on the ladder of success. With each step, more of a silent or insignificant it may seem to you, it has the potential to completely transform the trajectory. And the more we believe that we can evolve, and the easier it is to resist the temptation to give up, to give in to the routine, or to enter into a life that is not in the presence. With this understanding, it becomes the fuel for our journey of self-discovery, a journey that is about having the courage to explore our limits more or less than to confront our own shadow and to embrace vulnerability as a friend. Because deep down, the real power lies in our willingness to reinvent themselves continuously, to take lessons in the fall, and to celebrate each and every victory no matter how small. That is the essence of success, which builds a new narrative. A story of the impact and the transformation is real, and that it resonates in our souls, the way that words are unable to explain fully. And then, when you think about it, everything becomes clear that the journey of transformation, this is an invitation for the journal to become a better, more healthy, and more in line with what really matters to you. An invitation, it is about having the courage to look within, to question one's own limitations, and above all, to trust in the infinite potential that lies within each and every one of us. Because in the end, the biggest revelation is that it all starts with a decision, to decide that we're able to turn our life, one day at a time, with faith, persistence, and a mind open to the possibilities. He comments that, "It makes no sense to me." I now want to go more in depth on this topic and to explore how such a decision, which appears to be simple at first glance, it actually carries a positive force for change that many times we go through life trying to figure this out with no success. The strength lies in our ability to change the narrative that we tell ourselves, of course. From a young age, we are bombarded with stories of failure, self-doubt, and limitations that are imposed by others or even by ourselves. In these stories, and many of the times, it creates a kind of prison to recognize that prevents us from seeing beyond the horizon of what was laid out for us. But the big reveal is that both of these beliefs are not absolute truths, and that we can rewrite it at any moment, and with a conscious decision to open up the space for new growth, and it really doesn't matter. When we begin to question these limitations are built in, something begins to happen almost imperceptibly, but it is extremely powerful. A change of mentality, a decision not to take on more of what we've been taught as a threshold, generate a profound impact on our way. It's like all of a sudden, our actions would reflect on an all-new story, a story of courage and possibilities for self-reliance. And in this process of transformation, does not need to be a good thing, or not immediately. On the contrary, it is built day by day with the little choices that strengthen our brand new narrative, such as a ladder. It's going to take, step by step, in the direction of who you really are, a being of limitless potential. When you realize this, it becomes clear that the real battle is in the mind, and it is the key to change lies in the ability to keep that open-minded, welcoming the signs that appear along your path, even if they are challenging everything we thought to be true. With each revelation, no matter how simple it may seem, it bears a huge impact on our self-esteem and our self-confidence. This is the one that allows us to look beyond the surface, to understand the opportunities that are hidden in obstacles, and, especially, to understand our results are not a matter of luck or fate, but that of the choices. And there, in that moment of understanding, we see that the transformation is not a one-off event, but an ongoing journey, one construction, daily small decisions that have accumulated, creating a new reality. This journey requires us to courage to constantly challenge the status quo, to make room for the new, to create a much deeper connection with our true potential. This is a standing invitation to drop in the fear of the unknown and embrace the growth, even when your path seemed to be unclear or difficult. Because deep down, it all comes down to a decision, to decide that you are worthy of in order to live more fully, more truly, and more in tune with who you really are. And it is this decision that leads us to discover that behind every challenge, there is an opportunity to learn, change, and renewal. The truth is hidden. That is, many times, we don't want to see the impact of our transformation happens when you decide to change it. First, from the inside, before any output to the external. This is where it all starts to make sense when we understand that true strength comes from within, the mind is strengthened, and the commitment implicit in moving forward, regardless of the circumstances. And at this point in our day-to-day becomes an adventure of discovery, constance, where each step reveals a new layer of potential, which, until then, has remained dormant, waiting for the right time for you to wake up. It is your story so far, you know? That's the key to it, is your decision. And that decision, no matter how simple it may seem, it has the power to change everything around you, because she will be in addition to the specific actions. It is a change in the essence. It's a choice to believe in you, to trust your potential, and embracing the infinite possibilities that are within you. Every day is a new opportunity to reaffirm this decision, in order to boost your growth mindset and empower your journey toward achieving your dreams and goals. And then, when you do this, you will begin to realize that it's the most significant impact is not outside, but inside of you. Your willingness to move forward, to learn from the obstacles, and to follow up on believing that anything is possible. He writes in, I'm on this journey too. Right now, I want you to go deeper in the subject line, because that's the true transformation happens when we begin to understand that their mindset is not just a tool, but it's the foundation of everything that you want to achieve. Many times, we get so focused on the strategies of the external methods, techniques, and specific, that we forget that the biggest boost comes from the inside out. It's as if every decision, every thought, and it was like a seed planted in the soil of your mind, and you cultivate there, it determines the kind of reality that's going to give birth. The truth is hidden, sometimes, is just the way that you perceive the obstacle. Society, the media, and even people nearby might convey the idea that, in certain limits, they are impassable, making it difficult that you simply can't be surpassed. But, on the contrary, the key is to realize that these things are actually opportunities in disguise, one part of the process of growing up. It is in the face of adversity, that's the power you have within you if you reveal that you find out what is actually done. Each of these tasks is a gateway to a new you, with the opportunity to strengthen their resilience and improve their growth mindset. And when you do get to see such a broad perspective, it changes everything. It is not a matter of waiting for the external circumstances to change so that you feel able to. The change starts within yourself, in your decision to change the way that you interpret what is happening around you. This change in mindset has a direct impact on their actions and their choices of daily living, their willingness to move forward, even when things seem too hard. You will begin to understand that your journey is a series of small decisions, each of which is founded on the conviction that it is possible to move forward, no matter what the world, to try and get you to do. At the same time, this realization brings a huge responsibility. Many people are outsourcing a success, lay the blame on external circumstances, or in the other. But in fact, it is responsible for processing that is entirely up to you. It's up to you to decide to keep a positive frame of mind if you choose to learn from their mistakes and those who persisted in the face of difficulties. Is this the attitude is the difference between those who give up and those who will win? And then, when you realize that, you begin to be able to connect with the force within you that you may not even know you had. A force that, once awakened, it becomes your greatest ally in your journey towards your dreams come true. And in that moment, it all becomes clear. The more lasting impact doesn't come from external factors, such as, but their ability to shape their mindset, to fine-tune your thoughts and nourish, with a view of the world, which encourages growth. It's as if you were in the process of building a new foundation for your life, and a rock-solid foundation of self-confidence, courage, and purpose. Each made a conscious decision. Each of the positive thinking, it's a stone that you place on this basis, relying on their progress and boost your view options. On the journey, then, is no longer a struggle against the world, and it turns out to be a celebration of its own potential. You will begin to realize the impact you want to create. It does not only depend on the external conditions are perfect, but how you perceive and react to them. This one shift in perspective makes all the difference, because it makes the obstacles on the stairs, cast doubt on the motivation for and constraints on growth opportunities. And when you do that, you get closer and closer to a version of yourself that you never thought possible. One that believes in her strength and her ability to transform, and is in fact hidden in it, all starts from the inside out. Now, I want you to think a little bit more about that. How do you see the difficulties that arise in their own way? You can listen to them as also an opportunity to grow, or even if you feel trapped in its limitations. He writes in, I'm on this journey too. When you begin to look at the obstacles from a new perspective, something starts to shift within you. They They are not only barriers or insurmountable, but rather the opportunities disguised as challenges, which carry within them the potential for change. It's as if, instead of seeing a wall in front of you, you start to see it as an opportunity to find a door, which we had overlooked. This change in mindset is essential, because it allows us to turn every difficulty there as a step on the ladder of growth. But, of course, such a transition does not happen overnight. Many times we feel that we attach to our own limitations, like it if you're caught in a spider web, which we were not able to break through. And that's quite a human being. After all, it is the routine and the deep-seated beliefs and the fear of the unknown to create a sort of comfort zone. That is, even though it's uncomfortable, brings us into a false sense of security. However, once we began to question the feeling, something is starting to open up within us. We realize that the limits of what we believe to be insurmountable, many times, they are more closely related to one's own limited view of the reality of the absolute. That's what the power of self-awareness and the courage to explore beyond what we already know. Every decision that we make, and in this sense, it is like a seed planted in the soil of our transformation. And, in the course of time, the seeds are first planted, creating the roots of the deepest of trust and confidence, and clarity about who you really are and what we are capable of. And so when we understand that the impact of the choices we make will go a long way beyond what we can imagine, we can begin to understand what the difficulties are, obstacles to the end, but rather the starting point for something bigger than themselves. Every defeat, every doubt, every single moment of uncertainty turns out to be a piece of the puzzle that we are putting in our way of development. And this awareness gives us the enormous power of deciding, in fact, how do we respond to adversity. It's like all of a sudden, we see that the control is not on the outside, but the inside of us. That is, our emotions, our thoughts, and our actions have a direct impact on our reality. And in that moment of clarity, it all makes for a lighter, more dynamic, more in line with what you actually want to achieve. Right now, I want you to go deep into this subject. It is because of this understanding, it is only the beginning of a true transformation. When we realize that we could rewrite our story at any moment, everything gets a whole new dimension. And this is just our capacity to choose and act for a change conscious, even in the face of the greatest difficulties. Knowing that every step, however small it may seem, it is a very important part in the construction of a new version of ourselves. After all, it is the journey of transformation that is made up of choices, daily small actions that, taken together, create a powerful impact and long-lasting. It is in the constant movement of self-discovery and a decision that you have found your true strength to move forward, even when everything around you seems to come crashing down. These findings, many times, they are hidden between the lines of everyday life, behind the scenes of our mind, just waiting for you to let go of the doubts in order to see more clearly. In the game of the discovery of the biggest secret is the courage to continue to insist on it, to reach out to the truth. It hides what lies within each and every one of us. And in the meantime, the universe conspires to help those who dare to face your own shadows, because that's the courage to look inside. You find your true power to transform our lives from the inside to the outside. So, if you think about all of this, it is clear that the change is not a one-off event, but an ongoing journey, a series of decisions that will shape who we are and who we want to be. And along the way, each and every obstacle is an opportunity in disguise, a chance to evolve and to learn more about what really matters to you. After all, it's the true transformation happens when we get to transform our own limitations, in the steps of our questions and affirm steps and insecurities about motivation to keep you going. So, what really makes the difference is the capacity to see beyond what the eyes can see and understand that behind every difficulty, there is an opportunity to reinvent itself and to build up a new chapter in its history, more in tune with our inner selves more fully. If you've come this far, it's because they are really interested in pursuing this path of self-discovery and growth. And this is an important first step. Here on the channel, we strive to bring you content that makes a difference in your routine, that can help you to better understand your own strengths and to turn obstacles into opportunities for real progress. So, if you haven't yet signed up, you take the chance to click on a button and be a part of this exchange, because it is what we share here. It has the potential to make the journey lighter and more self-aware. You can leave a comment for us to tell us that it came up to the very end. It can be either a phrase such as, "I'm with you till the end," or something to show you that the message made sense to you. This interaction is very important, as it strengthens that connection is what we are building, and helps us bring you more content, which will be very useful to you. And of course, don't forget to like the light so that the energy will continue to grow from here, and strengthening our communities, and we're building together. There's a video right here on the side, which complements this subject, so click on there, and it remains with me to this step. After all, content is an opportunity to learn something new, and to keep that journey running light and natural. You can count on me on this journey, and I'm so glad you're here till the end. See you next time.